All right, Houston takes on Illinois, and that's going to be a 12:10 Eastern tip-off on Sunday, March 20th, 2022. The Houston Cougars are minus 4.5 with the total at 133. And following Friday's sports wagering action, we are 6-0 in our last six $1.99 daily best plays on BrockPage.com. And if you want to access today's $1.99 daily best play, the link for that bet is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are now up over $5,400 during that stretch. Now, if you want to see my personal bet record, you can do that right now for free by going to BrockPage.com. My record's located right on the homepage. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on my YouTube channel and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on BrockPage.com is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. We have over 900 members who are signed up and active on that website right now. And just remember, guys, if you sign up for a package here today on BrockPage.com, you're actually going to get access to that membership every single day, all the way through the end of March. Now, guys, Houston's arguably the toughest defensive team in the tourney right now. They currently lead the entire country in defensive field goal percentage, and they're allowing only 59 points a game. Now, when it comes to guarding the three ball, they're really good at that as well. These guys are holding their opponents at just 28% shooting from three land. Now, scoring-wise, on the other end of the court, Kyler Edwards, he's averaging over 13.5 points per contest, along with 6 rebounds. Meanwhile, Fabian White Jr. is making nearly 40% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging 13 points a game. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, the Cougs are in the top 25 in the nation in offensive boards per game. They're taking on an Illinois team who does not play great at a neutral site. They're just 1-4 straight up this year on neutral courts, and they barely squeaked by Chattanooga Friday in a 54-point scoring effort. They can only put up 54 on the mocks. But when it comes to covering the point spread, well, the Illini's been terrible covering the number lately. As a matter of fact, Illinois covered in only 2 ball games since February 5th. Now, total-wise, the Illini saw their last 4 straight fall under the posted number, 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Houston went 6-2 to the under in their last 8 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 4.5. Actually, no. Houston. We're leaning toward Houston. It's going to be Houston minus 4.5, excuse me, in the under 150. Oh, man, come on. Let's rewind that. Let's try that all over again. We're going to straighten out the camera. We're going to do that. All right, we want Houston minus 4.5 and the under 133. There we go. There we go, Brock Page. All right, next game. It is going to be Ohio State versus Villanova, 2:40 East. Nova's 5.5, totals 132. Now, the Wildcats lost only 2 games since January 19th. They're also 5-1 straight up at a neutral court. Now, Nova's played some incredibly tough defense this year. They're allowing only 63 points a game, and they're limiting their competition to just 40% shooting from the field. Now, offensively, Colin Gillespie's averaging nearly 16 points a game. He's also drilling 42% of his 3 balls. Meanwhile, Justin Moore is scoring over 15 points per contest himself, along with 5 rebounds and a couple assists. Now, when it comes to shooting from the stripe, the Wildcats actually lead the entire nation in free throw shooting. They're taking on an Ohio State team who lost 4 out of their last 6 themselves. And they scored just 54 points on Loyola in an opening round victory. Now, the Buckeyes do have a losing record this year away from Columbus. And they're also giving up 72 points a game in those contests. Now, total-wise, Ohio State saw unders recently with the likes of Loyola, Nebraska, and Maryland. Meanwhile, Villanova saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Villanova minus 5.5. and the under 132. Next matchup, it is going to be Michigan State versus Duke, 5:15 East. Duke's minus 6.5, totals 144. Now, Duke's amongst the best scoring teams in the country. They're actually in the top 10 in shooting from the field, and they're scoring nearly 81 points a game. Of course, Paolo Banchero, he's averaging 17 points a game, along with 7 boards and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Wendell Moore Jr. is drilling nearly 42% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring 13.5 points a game. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Blue Devils give up only 66 points per contest, and they're limiting their competition to just 31% shooting from three-land. Now, they're taking on a Michigan State team who allowed 72 points or more in 7 out of their last 10 ball games, really kind of becoming lackadaisical on the defensive end of the court down the home stretch here. Meanwhile, offensively, on the other end of the court, when the Spartans play away from the Breslin Center, they're scoring just 68 points per contest. Now, total-wise, I do actually think this one should get over the number. Sparty's 6-1 to the over in their last 7 ball games. Meanwhile, Duke went 7-2 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Duke minus 6.5 in the over 144. Next matchup, it is going to be Iowa State versus Wisconsin, 6:10 p.m. East. Wisconsin's minus 4.5, totals 126. Now, the Badgers have been excellent away from home this year. They're 4-1 straight up on the neutral site, 13-3 straight up in all of their contests away from Madison. The Badgers are giving up only 66 points a game defensively. And they're also limiting their opponents to just 32% shooting from beyond the arc. Now, offensively, Johnny Davis is having one heck of a year. He's scoring over 19.5 points per contest, along with 8 rebounds and a couple assists. Meanwhile, Brad Davison is scoring 14 points a game himself, along with 4 boards and a couple assists as well. Now, they're taking on an Iowa State team who's certainly not built for a track meet. The Cyclones are averaging only 63 points a game away from their home court. They're also amongst the worst in the Big 12 in offensive rebounding. And even though the Cyclones had a shocking upset over LSU in the tournament opener, these guys averaged only 51 points per contest in their last 4 ball games. So these guys certainly not hitting on all cylinders offensively. Total-wise, 3 out of the Cyclones' last 4 fell under the posted number. No real surprise there. Meanwhile, Wisconsin went 5-1 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward Wisconsin minus 4.5 and the under 126. Next ball game, it is going to be Notre Dame versus Texas Tech. That's going to be a 7:10 Eastern start time. Texas Tech is minus 7.5, totals 133. And despite the Red Raiders blowing out Montana State in the opener, they've still had a tough time covering the number down the home stretch here. Texas Tech failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7 ball games. They also have a losing record this year away from Lubbock. And equally as troubling, the Raiders have also got themselves a losing record against the point spread in their neutral site games this season. Now, I think Texas Tech's biggest problem area is shooting the basketball. They're making only 32% of their three-pointers this season, and they're also shooting just 69% from the foul line. So if somehow Notre Dame can keep these guys away from the basket, I really do like their chances here. Now, Notre Dame, they lost only 3 games since January 31st of last. Let's try that again. I'm getting really ahead of myself. But anyway, Notre Dame, they lost only 3 games since January 31st, and they covered the point spread in nearly 70% of those contests during that time frame. Now, Dane Goodwin, he's drilling 45% of his three-pointers this season. He's also averaging 13 points a game. Meanwhile, Blake Wesley, he's averaging 14.5 points per contest, along with 3 boards and a couple assists. When it comes to offensive production, there's really not many teams in Division I who shoot better from three-land than the Irish. These guys are currently in the top 10 in the nation in offensive three-point percentage. Now, total-wise, Notre Dame went 9-1 to the over in their last 10 ball games. Meanwhile, Texas Tech saw 5 out of their last 7 get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Notre Dame plus 7.5 and the over 133. Next ball game, it is going to be Miami versus Auburn, 7:45 East. Auburn's -7 with the total at 144.5. Now the Auburn Tigers are 12-5 straight up away from home this season, and they're amongst the best scoring teams in the tournament. The Tigers are averaging 79 points a game, and they're also in the top 10 in the nation in offensive boards. Jabari Smith, he's averaging over 7 rebounds per contest. He's also scoring 17 points a game and drills over 43% of his shots from beyond the arc. Meanwhile, Walker Kessler is averaging nearly 9 rebounds a game himself, along with 11 points. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Tigers are holding their competition to just 38% shooting from the field, and they're actually in the top 5 in the nation in that particular category. Now, they're taking on a Miami team who has a losing record against the number on a neutral site. They're also having a tough time on the defensive end of the court. Matter of fact, the Canes were amongst the worst in the ACC this season in defensive field goal percentage. Now, the U's also allowing 71 points a game, so we've seen some lapses defensively out of the Canes. Now, total-wise, Miami's 6-1 to the over in their last 7 neutral site contests. Meanwhile, Auburn went 60% to the over in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward Auburn -7 in the over 144.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Texas versus Purdue, 8:40 p.m. East. Purdue's -3 with the total at 134. Now, Purdue's 7-1 straight up in neutral site arenas here this year, and they're amongst the best scoring teams in the country. The Boilermakers are averaging 89 points a game. They're also drilling nearly 40% of their three-pointers as a team. Matter of fact, Purdue's currently in the top 5 in the country in offensive three-point percentage. Eric Hunter's draining over 47% of his shots from downtown. Mason Gillis makes 43% of his 3 balls as well. And of course, Jaden Ivey, he's the team's leading points getter with over 17.5 points a game, along with 4 rebounds. Now, no real surprise here. Purdue's in the top 10 in the nation in shooting the ball from the field. They're taking on a Texas team who does play really good defense, but once again, this is another team who isn't entirely built for a track meet. The Longhorns are scoring only 67 points a game away from home. They're actually doing a pretty poor job of covering the point spread. Texas failed to cover in 6 out of their last 7 contests. They went just 39% against the number all season long. Now, total-wise, Texas saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games fall under the line. Meanwhile, Purdue went 80% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Purdue -3 and the under 134. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be TCU versus Arizona. And that's going to be a 9:40 Eastern start time. Arizona's -9.5, totals 143 and a hook. Now, the Wildcats have gone 15-3 away from home this year, and they covered the number in 67% of those outings. Benny Mathurin scoring 17 points a game for the Cats, 5 boards, 2.5 assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Ozzy Tubelis is scoring 14.5 points a game himself, along with 6 rebounds and a couple assists. Now, when it comes to the scoring, there's really not many in the tournament who do it as good as the Wildcats. They're currently in the top 3 in the country in points per game. They're also making 50% of their field goals. Now, they're taking on a TCU squad who's definitely not built for a track meet themselves. I know I've said that a couple of times here in this video, but we got a couple of teams who really don't score a whole lot of points. Now, the Horned Frogs in this spot, well, they're scoring just 66 points a game away from home this season, and they're making only 30% of their three-pointers this year. When it comes to the total, Arizona saw 4 out of their last 6 neutral site games get over the line. Matter of fact, the Wildcats are going 80% to the over in their last 10 contests at any location. I'm going to lean toward Arizona -9.5 and the over 143 and a hook. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're going to get access to that package every single day all the way through the end of March for just the one-time fee. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to think about signing up for my board member package. Board members get access to every single package that I offer on that website every single day, all the way through the end of March as well. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Saturday or Sunday to you, depending on when you're watching this. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.